Hello, this is question 6 of the 2007 Maths. This is one of the computer science questions. We've got three people called Alf, Beth and Gemma, so alpha, beta, gamma, sit together in the same room. One of them always tells the truth, one of them always tells a lie. The other one tells truth or lies at random. In each of the following situations, your task is to determine how each person acts. Suppose that Alf says, I always tell lies. Beth says, yes, that's true. Alf always tells lies. Who always tells the truth? Who always lies? Briefly explain your answer. Right, so we need to say who does what, and we have to briefly explain the answer. Right, that raises some questions in itself. Now, it's good to, let's try out some certainties. We're trying to find contradictions in the statements, really. So let's do some hypothetical situations, see if we get a contradiction, and this can be a good way to then structure our answers to give these explanations, because quite often people don't know what the best way of giving the explanation is. So let's start off then and say for Alf then, right? So Alf has said this statement, I always tell lies. So let's start off with a hypothetical. If Alf always tells the truth. So we're just starting off, always tells the truth, by saying, right, this is a situation that we are investigating. Then let's see what the consequences are and see if we find a contradiction. If Alf always tells the truth, then his statement, because this is clearly going to be a contradiction straight away, because if he always tells the truth, saying I always tell lies is a contradiction. I always tell lies is a contradiction. I'm just going to put equals a contradiction. Obviously, put is a contradiction, but I've not got much space on here. So then we can say, therefore, Alf does not always tell the truth. Does not or doesn't always tell truth. So that's a good start. And it gives us, this is a general structure for a lot of the descriptions, these explanations that we're going to give. Then if this, then that, this is a contradiction, or maybe it's not a contradiction. It will be one or the other. So we can do the same thing. I won't write out every single word on this, but then we can say again, if Alf always lies, then we've got the same thing. So then we can say yada, 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 his statement, I always tell lies, that's also a contradiction because he'd be telling the truth, but he can't be telling the truth because he always tells lies. So we'll be saying, his statement, I always tell lies, is a contradiction. Contradiction, I'll actually write that out. Therefore, he doesn't always tell lies. Not a liar. And then we can say, therefore, he is telling truth or lies at random. So we've already got one of them for A. So I've written these last couple of bits in shorthand, but you can see the general structure in the first part of the question. So that's that one. We know that A is at random. Right, so let's try another one then. So B, we can say if Beth tells the truth. So I'm going to go with truther. If that isn't a word, it is now. So if Beth always tells the truth, then she's saying, yes, that's true. Alf always tells lies, which is another contradiction because Alf doesn't always tell lies. Sometimes he tells the truth. He does it at random. So then we can do the same thing again. Then her statement, etc., etc. And then that's going to lead to another contradiction. So we can say that Beth doesn't tell the truth. So she must be the liar. Beth is the liar. We've got that Alf is at random, which means that, who's the other person? Gemma. Therefore, Gemma is the truther. So you can see the structure that we're going for on these explanations, and that's answered the first part of the question. Right, second part of the question. Suppose instead that Gemma says Beth always tells the truth. Beth says that's wrong. Right, so we have to do the same thing. We're going to be taking a similar approach. So Gemma has said Beth always tells the truth. If Gemma always tells the truth, then that means that Beth always tells the truth, which can't be true because only one of them can always tell the truth. So that means we've got a contradiction again. So exactly the same structure of our explanation. I'm not going to write it all out because I'm sure you've got the idea. So we can then conclude from that Gemma is not the truther. That's what we're getting straight away from that bit. So can Beth be then? Beth has said that that is wrong. So if Beth always tells the truth about this, I mean, it's saying Beth always tells the truth is our assumption, and Gemma has said that she always tells the truth, and Beth has said, well, that's not true. I don't always tell the truth. Well, she can't be the truther either. You know, Beth, it can't be the truther. Otherwise, she would say, yes, I do always tell the truth. So that means, therefore, we've got to have that Alf is the truther. So what does that then mean about these other bits? So Alf is the truther. So Gemma is saying something that's not true, but we don't know whether that's because she's a liar or because it's at random. Beth has said that it's wrong, that she isn't telling the truth. Right, so we've got a slightly different statement here for this one then, because Beth has said something is true. Beth's statement is true. Beth's statement is true. So this is a break from the previous structures that we've been putting in of doing a hypothetical and then finding the contradiction. Now we're saying Beth's statement is true. No, she doesn't always tell the truth. So she must be answering at random, because if she was the liar, well, she'd always tell lies. So therefore, Gemma has got to be the liar. So slightly different structure on that last explanation. Right, that's the second part. I've gone to a clean screen for the last one, so I filled up all of that. Right, last part. Suppose instead that Alf says Beth is the one who behaves randomly. Gemma says Alf always lies. Then Beth says you've heard enough to determine who always tells the truth. Right, okay. So again, we've got exactly the same things that we have to supply on all of this. Right, we could go in with Alf's statement, but he's saying something about the random behaviour, and random behaviour is a lot harder to get a grip on than the definites of always telling the truth or always lying. And Gemma has said something very definite about Alf being a liar. So let's try that out then. So if Gemma is the truther, so then Alf is the liar. So that is fine. Then what would that mean? That would mean that Beth is the random. And Alf has said that. So, but A has said that B is random when he is a liar. He is a liar. So that gives us contradiction. So back to the same old structure that we've had for all of the previous parts. Conclusion, Gemma is not a truther. Right, okay, so that's a start. So one of the other two is going to be a truther. So let's try out on these then. So let's say if A, Alf, is our truther, then what does that mean? That means that we're going to have then Beth is behaving at random. Beth is random because Alf is telling the truth about that. And G would be the liar. Gemma is the liar. And that is coherent because Gemma is saying that Alf always tells lies. So that is coherent. Okay, so that is one chain that we've got there. What have we got for the other one then? So if Gemma, is it Gemma? Oh no, not Gemma. We've ruled out Gemma as being the truther. If Beth is the truther, then what does that mean? Well, Beth's statement isn't telling us that much. It's just telling us that we've got enough information. Yeah, may well be the case. Then what would we also know? So if Beth is the truther, then we could have Alf is, well, Alf could be either. Alf could be lying about Beth behaving, well, Alf would be lying, but he could be doing it at random or not. And then Gemma would be saying that Alf always lies, which could be random or not. So yeah, we could have either way. We could have, then we've got Alf is at random and Gemma is the liar. Or, this is the first time we've had an or, and this is going to be getting at Beth's statement, I think. Or we could have that Alf is the liar and Gemma is at random. We could have either of those. Right. So that's got two options for Beth being a truther. So would this all fit then? If we're saying here that Beth says you've heard enough evidence to determine who always tells the truth. Now, in this second case here with the or, Beth is telling the truth, but that wouldn't be true because we don't know which one of these options we've got. So it can't be this. But this, so we're saying this or is the contradiction. This contradicts Beth's supposedly true statement. Supposedly true statement. So let's just go and double check because that gives us a new contradiction. Well, I've written out contradicts there. So does this definitely hang together for this one then? So Alf is a truther. That's what we're saying on this. Saying that Beth behaves at random, which means this statement could well be true. It certainly could be true. And Gemma is the liar. And Gemma is saying that Alf always lies. So that fits. So all of that is coherent. It's all completely consistent. Whereas it's not consistent in the second case because Beth would not be telling the truth that we've got enough information. So it's going to have to be this option here. It's going to have to be that Alf tells the truth. It's going to have to be that Beth is at random. And it's going to have to be that Gemma is the liar. So yeah, that one is tricky because it's brought in that or option there. So you can see we've got three different structures to our explanations now that we're writing out. We've got the straight chain of reasoning where we're saying if this, if that, then this, and then it's either a contradiction or not. So usually we're writing down contradiction. So that's one structure that we've got. We had that second structure where it was just the case of, right, we've set up all of these statements and, well, here is something which is a true statement. Well, again, I suppose it is actually fitting into the same structure, isn't it? The one that we had before, where was it? For Beth's statement is true, this one down the bottom here, where we're saying her statement is true. So that is another contradiction. So it's still the same structure, actually. So we're doing those. This one is just a variation on it. Again, we're still making a statement. It's just a more involved statement that's got an or in it. You can see why this fits with applying for computer science. And this or is in contradiction with one of the statements. So that just adds that level of complexity. So yeah, it's a nice question, that one, just thinking through the logic of it. But it's very much about starting off hypothetical situations. If this happens, then that is the outcome. Is that coherent or not based on the other statements? So yeah, nice one.